Hello and welcome back to Make Money Online. So before we begin today's video, I wanted to point out that I've seen several comments over the months on this channel and on our other channels as well, saying that I'm just an advanced AI text-to-voice software. And although some of my ex-girlfriends might agree that I have no feelings, I can assure you I'm not a robot. I'm a real person, and this is my real voice. But I guess I'll take it as a compliment, I think. Anyway. In what is regarded as the cryptocurrency interview of the year, we've got Thinking Crypto in an interview with Ripple's Chief Technology Officer David Schwartz, during which the pro-XRP supporter had asked some fundamental questions, and David Schwartz answering just about everything, including the use case of XRP. After that, they talked about the proposal of making sidechains around the XRP ledger. So what was David Schwartz's vision of the XRP ledger and the federated sidechains? Questions like that and more were answered in this 55-minute long video. But before we move on, if this is your first time on the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on post notifications. Now you can also support us on Patreon, and we have a special offer for our first 100 members, only $9.99 for VIP access on Discord, which gives you exclusive benefits far beyond the free features. Be sure to check out the links in the video description and in the pinned comment. So during that interview we just mentioned, when asked about adding a supplementary sidechain to the XRP ledger, David Schwartz said the general idea is to enhance the utility of the XRP ledger by essentially having additional ledgers that sort of literally sit to the side of it. And to give a bit of an overview, David goes on to say that the XRP ledger has a certain set of features that it provides, and those are the only features it provides. And if those features are a perfect match for your use case, then you don't need a federated sidechain. You don't need anything else. But if you need something that is sort of close to that, but not exactly that, then you can't do it on the main chain. Further on, he added that if you try to put everything on a single chain, what happens is the chain gets slow and it gets expensive, and it degrades the ability for people to use it for simple payments. Popularly referred to as the Gandalf-esque wizard of San Francisco's Ripple and co-creator of the third most valuable cryptocurrency, XRP, the expert cryptographer gave an example of a crypto platform with a reduced transaction capability due to an overloading of the platform's mainnet protocol, such as Ethereum's decentralized finance technology. In his words, Schwartz said Ethereum embraced DeFi, and that's great. I mean, you can do all kinds of cool things. You have the decentralized exchange, you have loans, and you have all these tokens issued, and that's fantastic. But if you want to move Ether from point to point, your fees are raised and lowered by the DeFi ecosystem, which degrades its ability to be used for payments, and that's a trade-off. Schwartz pointed out that the intent for the federated sidechain on the Ripple mainnet is to have all of those other things we saw in the case of Ethereum and DeFi earlier, making the process sufficiently painless for the sidechains to interoperate. Schwartz was trying to say that putting those other things on a sidechain against having them on the mainnet makes the entire process seamless. As long as both these chains are interconnected through the distributed ledger, then we can have those who want DeFi to run DeFi on the sidechain without lowering the payment experience of those on the main chain. As one of the original architects for the Ripple payment system and a respected voice in all crypto, an interview like this is guaranteed to reach a wider audience. Apart from having more transaction capability while keeping a reduced fee, David Schwartz added that there really is actually no good way for people to innovate right at the lowest layer, like in the blockchain itself. If you want to change the way the actual blockchain works, if you want to change the consensus algorithm, if you want to change the way it represents information, if you want to change its core transaction feature set, you really have no good way to do that. Point being that this newly created ecosystem of federated sidechains will allow developers within the Ripple network to incorporate third-party features right at the fundamental layer. With these smaller sidechains, people can develop and produce bespoke features. This is excellent news, and of course in the end, interoperability is a crucial factor, just as we've heard the CTO earlier hint about. At about 9.5 minutes into this video, we have Ripple's CTO talking about the importance of interoperability yet again, where he says, I genuinely believe that even if these systems are private and not decentralized, there are still tremendous advantages to using blockchain technology. And that's actually the missing piece if you want to scale enterprise payment systems. Making a close comparison between these other popular blockchains to that of the XRP ledger, he further added that they've not had significant security issues in many years, despite the fact that they're not really professionally managed. They're run by whoever wants to run them. They don't have any permissions, and yet you can make billions of dollars if you hack into them. He went on to assert that these systems are not just hacked into, they are intrinsically resistant to the types of attacks that have created problems for institutional and enterprise payment systems. So even if it's going to be centralized, I still think that there's an advantage there. And I think the other nice thing about it is not just that it's better for the institutions, because they have this better security model, it's not as difficult for them to scale it up. That's great. Adding that the other thing is, if we can get different central banks on a common technology platform and a modern technology platform, then we can pursue interoperability. And on that note, David Schwartz says one of the things that I discovered working for Ripple over the last 10 years and selling software to banks is that they all have different systems, they all have different standards, they all have different everything. And trying to get them to interoperate was a nightmare. If they were all on a modern platform, that would just be so much easier. And these systems will inherently be able to support foreign assets. Expressing his vision regarding a federated sidechain, much like the long-propagated central bank digital currency private ledger for central banks, my central bank vision would be like the US has a system, the EU has a system, Russia has a system. Whatever jurisdictions are compatible, they can federate assets. So if you're a US bank, you could hold the US balance that the feds would sort of be the custodian for, and it's a balance reflected on the Fed's balance on the European ledger, and your balance on the Fed's ledger. With a system such as that, Schwartz mentions that you could reach even greater horizons within the global financial sphere, a world where every major financial institution on the planet could settle with every other major financial institution in any asset that has jurisdictional capabilities in a few seconds. Tony from Thinking Crypto cited an example of a scenario where the US Federal Reserve had a sidechain on the XRP ledger and the respective digital dollar. And Russia had its respective fiat currency on a private sidechain as well. The host shared his thoughts on XRP being a bridge asset for money movement in such a scenario. In addition to how that would all play out and how XRP fit into all of that, the CTO answered by saying obviously nobody can force either of those entities to do anything that they don't want to do. I'd love to say, oh, they're going to have to use like XRP as an alternative. But the other lesson that I've learned being in this business for decades is that you can't force your customers to do the things that you want them to do because you won't have any customers. David added that it would be a walled garden once the system starts, in the sense that once the system fully rolls out, there are going to be smaller countries with less existing infrastructure that they would need to change, and they will build these systems as walled gardens, meaning in a heavily controlled environment. And as the expert software engineer would have it, what would happen is people who are on both sides of the walled garden will be able to monetize the fact that they are on both sides of the walled garden.
Well, the general idea is to enhance the utility of the XRP ledger by essentially having additional ledgers that sort of literally sit to the side of it. The XRP ledger has a certain set of features that it provides, and those are the only features it provides. And if those features are a perfect match for your use case, then you don't need a federated sidechain, you don't need anything else. But if you need something that's sort of close to that, but not exactly that, then you can't do it on the main chain. If you try to put everything on a single chain, what happens is the chain gets slow and it gets expensive, and it degrades the ability of people to use it for simple payments. Like we saw that with Ethereum. Ethereum embraced DeFi, and that's great. I mean, you can do all kinds of cool things. You have a decentralized exchange, you have loans, and you have all these tokens issued, and that's fantastic. But if you just want to move ETH from point to point, your fees are sort of raised and lowered by the DeFi ecosystem, and that degrades its ability to be used for payments. Not to trade off, but you can make the trade-off in different ways. But of course, one of the best things that you can do with the trade-off is not have to make it. And the idea here is if you put those things on a sidechain instead of on the main chain, and you make it sufficiently painless for the sidechain to interoperate, obviously if the sidechain is its own world, then you can use some of the things.
Now that is just a short snippet. Everything is connected in this interview. And of course, I highly recommend that you guys watch this video when you have the time on Thinking Crypto. It's highly informative and it's worth your time. But thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and turning on post notifications. And don't forget the links are in the description if you'd like to support us on Patreon or join our free Discord group. Be sure to check out some of our previous videos as well, and we'll see you next time.